The scariest night of my life took place in the fall. Some years ago. It was a very cold night. I had just gotten off of my late shift at work at around 1 o'clock in the morning. On my way home, I decided to stop at a gas station, about 10 miles away from my house, on the way to get a soda. While I was grabbing my soda inside the store, I noticed a shady-looking man outside, talking to another man who had just finished pumping his gas. I paid for my drink and noticed the shady-looking man was visibly upset. The other man drove off and I assumed he was upset because of their conversation. Now, I've never been one to converse with strangers, so I was hoping the man would not speak to me when I walked outside. When I did walk outside, I broke the seal to my soda, took a big gulp and looked around. The man was gone. I felt relieved as I took the keys out of my pocket and started to unlock my driver's side door. But before I could get in, somebody lightly touched my shoulder. I turned around fast and sure enough it was the man. "Hey buddy, I really need a ride." He was about the same height as me. There was worrying and a bit of desperation in his voice. "Where are you headed?" I asked, while immediately thinking of excuses to not take him anywhere. He might say just up the hill into town. I tried to think of a way to say no. I thought of nothing. For some reason, in a shaky and sure voice, I replied to him, "I could take you as far as the turnpike, but I'm not going into town. It's not on my way, sorry. Is that cool?" The man seemed happy enough with this answer and replied, "Yes, thank you." I opened my door and got in my truck, while he walked around the front and stepped inside, next to me, slamming the door next to him. He asked me what I did for a living and I told him. And that was the only thing that was said between the two of us until we got to the turnpike. We reached the turnpike quickly, as it was only about 8 miles away, and there was nobody on the roads with us, and naturally, I was speeding like hell the whole way there. We reached the stop sign right before the turnpike. There was a bus station right next to it. He had his head turned outside and I spoke. "All right, man, this is as far as I can take you," trying to sound as nice as possible. The man didn't turn to me and said no. "I need to go further into town," like I said. At this point I was annoyed but also worried. I have no idea who this guy is, or why the hell I agreed to take him anywhere in the first place, or what he might do. Anyhow, I decided to stick with my plan. "Dude, I told you I wasn't going that way." "Sorry, but can you please?" The guy interrupted me and turned with his left hand. He smacked me, "Just keep going." Out of shock, it took me about 30 seconds to reply, "What the fuck, dude?" After I said that, the man lifted a screwdriver out of nowhere and pointed it at me before I could react to this. He began hitting me repeatedly in the head. Out of panic, I opened my truck door and fell out onto the ground. I started walking fast away with no plan in mind at all, just to get the hell away from this guy. At this point, I would have been okay with him stealing my truck. The man got out and ran after me. I was dizzy and so the man caught me, screwdriver in hand. After only a few moments of threatening my life, I quickly agreed to take him where he wanted. He calmed down and was relieved to hear this, lowering the screwdriver from my face. We both started walking back to the truck. I reached the driver's side first, and I had a moment of adrenaline. I jumped in, I put it in drive and floored it. As he was about to step in, I left him on the ground in the rearview mirror. I saw him get up and stare in my direction in anger. Literally shaking at this point, I decided to not go directly home, which was only about 2 miles up the road. Only 3 turns on residential streets after that. It was very close. I didn't want the man to sprint after me and somehow follow me home, so I decided to drive around for a while, passing my turn off into my neighborhood, and I kept driving. After about 30 minutes of driving around, trying to make sense of what the hell just happened, I headed into my neighborhood from a different entrance than my usual one. I made a turn, then another. As I was driving by my house, about to pull into the driveway, I felt sick to my stomach. To my horror, I saw the man standing at a window to my house, looking in. I cannot tell you the level of shock and fear I felt. At this point, he did not see me as my headlights were turned off. As I drove up, the house was about 50 yards from the road, so he didn't hear me either. I saw him move on to the back of my house and disappear. About 30 yards away from my house, on the same property, was my mother's small house. My mom was elderly and was no doubt asleep at this time. There was nobody inside my house, and at this point my mind was racing rapidly, trying to think of what to do. I decided not to approach the man out of fear. After what I did to him, I was afraid he would hurt me or kill me, and I had no weapon to defend myself. I made the decision to drive around 200 yards further up my street to my neighbor's farm. After pounding on their front door for a minute, they opened. I told them what was happening, and out of confusion they called the police for me. Minutes later, I saw the police lights from down the road pull into my driveway. My neighbor and I got in my truck and drove over there to meet them. Myself, my neighbor and two police officers entered my house, but did not find the man. He was not there. My heart sank, crying. At this point, I told the police about my mother's quarters on the same property. We ran over there fast and noticed a window by her front door was broken. I used my key and unlocked the door, and we all went inside. I called for my mother, but I got no response. We turned on the lights, and I ran upstairs into my mother's room. I turned on her bedroom light to see a sight that will never leave me. My mother's butchered body,